hello.
Oh, hello.
And welcome to the Comic Queens podcast. I'm Alex.
And I'm Annie. And today we are super excited to talk to you. It's mostly going to be me talking at everybody, but that's fine.
I mean, you got an hour of me last time, so.
Yeah, this is true. So last week we all got to hear from Alex about Sangyang the Wanderer, just a series that is really top of the mind, has her gripped. And this week we're going to be talking about a series that has done the same for me. It is called Lovesick Dog, and it's available on Leeson Comics. So if you're wanting to spend those coins, I highly recommend it. It is worth all of the money. But today we're going to do a deep dive into this series, basically telling Alex all about it, trying to convince her and you all to read it along with me. So as we get started, Lovesick Dog is a series. As of right now, it does have about 28 episodes, so there's lots going on. But it is by creator Song Hyel. I will say, as soon as I saw this series, I caught up on all of the episodes, and then I was like, I need to know if this creator has made anything else, because it was that good. And they have made another series that I've found on Leeson called Ouroboros, which is a completed series. It is 81 episodes. It is so good and gripping. It is one of the most heartbreaking stories I've ever read. And it's basically how to overcome trauma. So if that's something you can read, highly recommend. It is triggering and doesn't have any trigger warnings. So if you are triggered by SA, anything like that, I maybe recommend that you not read it. But that's my little personal aside. But it was overall just a very well-written series. Love the art, love everything about it. Go ahead and check that one out. But today, we are focusing on Lovesick Dog. I started reading this series just because I've been spending more time on Leeson in general. And I felt like it was a good time. I was like, you know what? I'm going to start investing my money. Like, I do some Patreon for different artists that I love. And this just felt like a good way to kind of invest in the series that I really find gripping. So I bought this one, immediately knew I wanted all of the episodes, and just bought all of them. And now I buy them as they release every Saturday. So to delve right into the story, this story is about No Yegyum. He is basically just your average, like 25, 26-year-old, but he has had an extremely hard upbringing. He feels like everybody that he's been in relationships with, been with friends with, etc., and including his family, has just kind of used and abused him. And he really, just like anybody else, just wants to like feel that love and closeness with somebody. Like, he's kind of just desperate for that affection. And he feels like he hasn't gotten that. So he kind of takes a call back to how somebody that he was in a relationship with had mentioned that 14,000 years ago, wolves got this curse called love sickness that essentially made it that whenever they met a person, they basically became their companions. Like, this is how dogs are domesticated now, etc. Just kind of a theory about how everything happened. And, you know, he kind of sits there and has his own internal monologue where he says, like, you would think that being submissive and being this companion would make you humiliated and just ashamed and stuff. But realistically, like, when I see that connection between a dog and their owner, like, all I feel is jealous. Because I wish I had that with somebody. Like, I wish I had somebody that loved and cared about me. And it's always been just that one-sided, like, I feel like I offer up everything I have and I don't get anything back. And so as we start out with No Yegyum, we see him basically getting the crap beaten out of him. It is not by any of his lovers or anything like that, but it's actually by some of the family members of the person that he's currently living with trying to kick him out of the house. So they're like threatening to break his ankles. They're like, you better get out of here. And No basically begs them. He's like, don't break my legs. Like, just leave and I will leave of my own accord. But he doesn't know where to go.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, I've lived in this house with this person for a year. And now, like, it's just abruptly coming to an end. Like, that person is engaged to be married, is just starting their life fresh. And they're basically, like, abandoning him.
So did his partner send the family to go do this to him?
You don't know. There's not much context. And it does kind of explain itself as the series go on. So we'll get a couple more answers.
Okay.
But yeah, as of right now, the context you have is he's an extremely lonely person who just craves that affection and that love and loves giving, but he also like wants something back out of it and doesn't ever feel like he does get that. So he's just internally monologuing, like, how did it come to this? Like, I know that the person I'm with right now is getting married to a woman. I know that, like, I'm going to have to leave. I'm not going to get in their way. Like, just let me leave peacefully. And then as they leave him alone, he's just, like, sitting there. Like, I have no idea what to do or where to go. Like, how do you pick up from a breakup that ends like this is essentially the kind of context you have. And so as he's internally monologuing, like, oh, my God, I'm stuck. Like, I don't have anywhere to go, anything to do. Another man just, like, bursts in. And he's, like, this other man is mumbling to himself. He's like, the place is a mess. These people, they're, like, gangsters. Why did they do this to the house? Blah, blah, blah. And he sees No Yigyum just sitting there, like, not knowing what to do. Just kind of, like, ignores him for a second. Keeps, like, looking around the place. And then he just grabs No's face and is, like, looking around him. And he's just like, I expected an actual dog, but, like, here you are. Well, okay, that's fine. Pack up whatever you want. We'll just buy you whatever else you need. And No is just like, who are you? Where have you come from? I have no idea who you are. I just got beaten the shit out of. And here's this random person grabbing my face, being like, I expected a dog, but that's fine. And, like, trying to, like, help clean up some of the mess. And so he asks, he's like, who are you? Like, what is going on? And that's the end of the episode. Like, episode 1 is just a lot of you're feeling exactly what the main character is, which is feeling stuck. You have no idea what's happening. And, like, to be fair, neither does he. Like, he's just kind of like, this is all new to me too. So in the next episode, you do find out that he has now gone home with this strange man because the strange man said, I'm your new owner. So you kind of start getting a little bit of background information on what his living situation was like previously. And it turns out that the person that he was with had almost non-consensually put him into, like, an owner-dog situationship. Like, more than S&M.
Yeah.
Like, this is, I have complete control over you. You don't leave the house when I say so. You do everything I tell you to do. If you disobey me, like, you have to make it up to me. I mean, like, and No just kind of went along with it because he's been in these abusive relationships before. And he hasn't really known anything else. So as soon as this guy says, I'm your new owner, he just kind of accepts it.
Well, and it makes sense why he was so lost and, like, didn't know what to do if someone else is making all of his decisions.
Yeah. And essentially he's like, I'm going to have to learn everything, like, from scratch because I've already been tamed by somebody else. Like, he's just accepted these, like, phrasings and, like, how things have been. And it's really sad. Like, you just kind of get to see these inner workings. So, like, he wakes, like, he's laying in the bed. He's like, how the hell did I get here? Like, what situation am I in now? And it's kind of like, honestly, when you see a dog going from the shelter who's used to a different household, and then you have to adjust.
Yeah.
Like, everything's different. You don't know where you are. You're just kind of scared, confused, a little bit angry. Like, you just don't know. And so, like, he's laying in this bed with a complete stranger next to him, but there's only one bed, so they're just laying next to each other. And again, he doesn't even know this guy's name. Like, he's just a complete stranger who's shown up and said, I own you now.
Yeah.
So he ends up falling asleep. He's like, the bed is comfortable. I might as well get some rest. It's been, it's been a couple days.
Is it a real bed?
It's a real bed.
Okay, good.
It's a real bed. It's actually a very nice apartment in general. Like, there's a really nice, expensive couch. There's, like...
Is he allowed on the couch? A
second story. He's allowed on the couch.
I'm sorry, you said...
He's not an actual dog.
Okay, I get that, but...
Yes. But, based on his previous relationship, you never know.
I just needed to know. I had to ask.
He's allowed on the couch. And the ground rules are established here in episode 2.
Okay.
So essentially he falls asleep and wakes up to this stranger now on the phone talking about how he's like, you can handle the mess at work. I'll be there eventually. Like, that's your job. I'll be there when I can. And he's like, oh, sorry I woke you. And so they end up talking. And this strange man makes himself a bowl of cereal and then makes a bowl of cereal for No Yigyum.
Mm-hmm.
And he just goes, here, eat. And he puts it on the floor. And so
see, okay, so my questions were not that crazy.
They're not that crazy. And so No Yigyum gets on his knees to start eating it off the floor. And the guy is like laughing. He's like, I did not expect him to do this. Like, you can tell he's like, that's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so he basically says, he's like, look, I kind of got a little bit of background information into what your situation was. And it's very interesting to see how two-faced my brother is. And you find out that the previous quote-unquote owner of No Yigyum is this man's brother, Ju-young.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, why'd you take me in? What is all of this? He goes, my name's Ju-in. I just decided to bring you back because you didn't look like you had anywhere else to go. And I'm aware that he's getting married. There's a bunch of stuff happening in the background. And so I just figured I'd help you out. Like, you seem like maybe you need some assistance. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, they go through like this whole dynamic and he gets like a very clear insight into how deranged this situation was between his brother and No Yigyum, because he'll be like, oh, go take a shower. And Yigyum literally like stands there naked waiting for permission to take a shower. Like, he was willing to get on his knees to eat the food.
Yeah.
He was willing to do all this. And Ju-in is just kind of like trying to slowly accept how messed up this situation was.
Yeah.
So Ju-in makes it super clear. He's like, look, you live here too. You can watch the TV. You can eat whatever food is here. But honestly, I'm a terrible cook, so you get cereal. I hate cleaning, so I leave my house minimal. And No Yigyum's like kind of looking around the house and like opens up this closet where everything falls out. And then Ju-in's just shoving everything back in. He's like, oh, don't go in there. And, you know, Yigyum's like, can you find anything that you need? And you kind of find out that this guy is a mess. Mm-hmm. Like, he works a lot. Like, basically all he does is work and sleep and eat. And, like, he barely does those things. Mm-hmm. Like, he's just kind of, like, a depressed man who just goes about his day as best he can. And he's like, I don't think this guy is, like, in an okay enough spot himself to be taking care of me. Because he can barely take care of himself.
Yeah.
But what Ju-in does do very early on is he goes, do whatever you want. Like, do what you want. And Yigyum doesn't know what he wants to do because he's never had to know what he wanted to do. So right there, you get a very clear sense of how sad that dynamic was previously. And basically, Ju-in, his new quote-unquote owner, is just like, oh, well, you're going to have to figure out what you want. Like, you can watch the TV, find some stuff to do. So as the episodes progress, as we get into like chapter 3 and 4, No is just kind of trying to get a handle on what his new dynamic is from day to day. Mm-hmm. And very quickly, he's just trying to pick up on the patterns of what Ju-in is doing, which is not much. Like, Ju-in's gone for work. He sleeps during the day because he works overnight. And, like, he just has no schedule for himself, which resonated very well with me as somebody who used to work third shift.
Yeah.
Because it is hard to adjust to that schedule.
It's hard to maintain a good schedule when you work overnight.
I know.
That was when my husband was working overnight. It was so hard, especially because I was working in the day and he was working in the night.
I know.
So glad we don't do that anymore.
So wild and crazy. So as the two of them are getting closer, you know, No Yigyum kind of like realizes that Ju-in is coming on to him. Mm-hmm. And he makes it very clear. He goes, let's be clear and set this ground rule. Dogs don't have sex with their owners. And Ju-in is like, well, thank you for clarifying that. I was aware that dogs don't fuck their owners. And he goes, as much as I am attracted to you, like, I'm bisexual and I do find you attractive, but also not my priority. Honestly, it's just kind of nice to have somebody to come home to. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm lonely, like desperately lonely. I live alone in this very empty apartment because the less stuff in here is the less stuff I have to take care of.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of just nice to have you around. Like, I'm okay with that. And so Yigyum almost kind of finds like some like happiness in the fact that nobody's pursuing him for like any sexual needs, etc. But Juin's kind of confused. He's like, this is a very weird S&M relationship that you guys have done nothing sexual together. Mm-hmm. So he's just like still kind of trying to figure out like, what the hell was my brother Ju Young even doing with this guy?
Yeah.
Like, they weren't fuck buddies. They weren't like in some sexual relationship. He just literally treated this human being like a dog. And so Juin is trying to think to himself, he's like, what? Did he just want like a super trusted secretary like they have in those mafioso movies where like that guy's willing to put their life on the line, mm-hmm. you know, like he's training him to do that. And he's like, it's not even that. Like, he wouldn't let him leave the house.
Yeah.
He treated him like an actual animal. The bag that Juin packed up of all of Yigyum's things was like literally a muzzle.
Oh.
Like a dog muzzle. And he's just like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like, as much as he's not a people person, he's just like, I don't understand. And so to give, you know, Yigyum some peace of mind, he goes, I hope you know that we've met before. Very briefly, you wouldn't remember. And it turns out that there was basically this like party hosted by the rich. You know how there are like all those theories that the rich people are like deranged mm-hmm. and have like all of these really like weird, secretive like plots in the background happening. And so he's at one of these rich parties, like making fun of all these politicians who were like trying to swing with other couples, blah, blah, blah. And his brother is there, and he ends up seeing Yigyum for the first time at this party as his brother Ju Young's date, essentially. Mm-hmm. And so he's just like, I have no idea what this dynamic is.
Was it like early on in their relationship?
Yeah.
So maybe before all of this was happening?
Before it all maybe just kind of just fell into chaos, essentially. Yeah, that's kind of what it's assumed. Mm-hmm. But I mean, Juin is just kind of like trying to have fun with it at this point. He's like, okay, so if you were a dog, he's like, I don't know, you seem more like a cat to me. Maybe I'll call you Mittens. And he's just kind of playing around and like trying to make the situation fun at this point. Because he's like, this was fucked up. And like, I didn't have control of it being messed up like this. But like, here we go. So, you know, they just kind of delve into like, this is a really weird situation. And Yigyum's trying to find his own place in this house because he was basically told what his position was in the previous house. It was, you do all of my chores, you do all of this. If you do something not to my liking, then you're punished, etc. Mm-hmm. And Juin makes note of the fact that Yigyum has all of these ear piercings. Both of his eyebrows are pierced, his lip, his nipples, his navel, everything. Mm-hmm. And he's just like, why did you do this? Do you like pain? Is that part of like what that relationship was? And even Yigyum's like, no, it's more like a brand. Like anytime I had to be like regretful of something that I did, I had to like get a piercing to show how remorseful I was. Mm. And he's like, so it's not even consensual. And Juin is like, just kind of disgusted by it all.
Yeah.
Like, and he's trying to keep a straight face to like not make Yigyum self-conscious about everything that's been going on, but he can see how fucked up everything is from like an outside perspective. And even Yigyum hasn't come to terms with how fucked up everything was. So slowly but surely, with all the freedom that Yigyum is given, he's kind of losing his mind. He's like, our routine is that we eat cereal together, we do all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. And so Yigyum starts taking all of the knowledge he has from previous jobs that he's done, from like everything else that like his previous friends or relationships have, you know, basically required of him. Mm-hmm. He's like, I used to work in a Chinese restaurant, so I'll make our food. Like I'll order groceries, etc. And like he makes a big deal. He makes food for Juin. And he's like, wow, thank you. That's delicious. Can I have seconds? And Yigyum's like, just so you know, I didn't leave the house to get the groceries. I got them delivered. And he's like, you can go get the groceries. It's fine.
Yeah.
And so basically, like, he doesn't know what to do with himself. He's not used to having the freedom. And what he ends up doing is what he ended up doing for everybody else, which you can see is basically everything. Like, he expects nothing in return. He expects, like, no gratification, nothing. He just does it because he was expected to do the laundry. He cleans out Juin's closet of shame and, like, organizes it. And Juin's like, is this the same closet? Oh, my gosh, you know? And Yigyeom is just, like, kind of taken aback because he's like, I really don't want to disappoint Juin. This is, like, a living situation that I'm in. Like, my food is paid for. My house is paid for. Like, I'm kind of getting used to, like, the little bit of a system they have with Juin being just a complete mess, which is just eating and sleeping together, essentially. And he's like, but it's nice to have the company. And honestly, like, I want to do something for him. Like, I feel like I owe him. And so he kind of just takes on that role himself of, like, doing everything. So, you know, he gets to know Juin better. He's like, you know, maybe we can go out together and do something because I've been cooped up in the house. And Juin is just amazed that he kind of makes a suggestion of something to do for himself for once. Because by now they've been living together for, like, a few weeks. And Yigyeom hasn't left the house. Like, he's just done all of the household chores, like a maid, essentially. And he's just like, oh, you know, I just wanted you to know that, like, that's fine. And we can go and do all that stuff together. And you start to see Juin kind of taking care of him as well. Like, when he has food all over his face, he's wiping Yigyeom's face. And they do have just, like, these intimate moments of, like, it's not a one-way street. Like, I can take care of you as a person and not as an animal because you're not one. So it is just really sweet. Like, you get to see that growth. And basically, they just start to, like, watch movies together. They're starting to hang out and do, like, you know, more, like, fun stuff. Like, basically, Juin's like, oh, I had a tough day at work. And they, like, sit next to each other on the couch and he'll, like, lay his head on his lap. And Yigyeom's like, this feels like an overstep. Maybe he's more like the dog because he's, like, cuddled up on me. But Juin, like, really just appreciates having somebody there for him because you get the sense that he's very much a loner, like, hasn't done much for himself even, and almost is similar to Yigyeom, but isn't, like, so directly oppressed. Like, it's more like he's just a depressed person and he kind of puts, like, all of that weight on himself to, like, not do things and go out, etc. But they kind of form this little bit of dependency on each other in, like, a healthier way. Like, I enjoy your company. I don't need it, but it's nice to have. So now that they kind of have a little bit more of a rapport, you start seeing flashbacks to, like, really how fucked up it was, this situation with Ju-young, Juin's brother. And essentially, like, the way he got into this situation in the first place is after his military service, he had taken out a personal loan that just kind of got out of hand. And so Yigyeom ended up not really having anybody he felt like he could rely on. But one of his superiors in the military was Ju-young, his previous owner. And he basically calls him and says, you said I can reach out to you whenever I need anything. And I need help. Like, I'm in over my head. I kind of feel like I'm drowning. Can I pay you back instead of having these loan sharks going after me? And instead of dealing with it in any healthy way, like, basically Ju-young takes advantage of this situation and says, like, you're going to make yourself useful. You're, like, the scum underneath my boot. Like, just really degrading, awful relationship. Like, to the point he's like, you start as a dog and you can eventually work yourself up to being a person. And it's really gross and interesting to see how this all just started because he never became a quote unquote person in Ju-young's eyes. No matter how much he tried, no matter how much of the chores he did at the house, like, you see how many piercings he has. He has a tattoo of a butterfly on his neck, which he says he eventually had to get because he disappointed Ju-young so bad he had to get the tattoo to, like, show he was his. And Juin is interestingly not very surprised. Like, he keeps making comments. He's like, wow, my half-brother sucks. Like, wow, it's interesting how how two-faced he can be.
Yeah.
And he also has made several comments as well throughout the whole thing where he's just like, yeah, Ju-young was kind of like a perfectionist and no one can ever live up to his standards, including himself. Like, I think this is a lot of self-hatred kind of trickling back into this whole relationship and dynamic because he's hard on himself, essentially. So basically, the both of them just start this relationship of dependence on each other, and they're getting to know each other better. You find out that Ju-in is the owner of a string of bars, and essentially they were owned by his mom previously. And when she had passed away, he just kind of took ownership of all of them. And one of them that he runs, that he spends the most time at, is a gay bar. And so Yi-gyum is kind of just like, oh, well, that's interesting that you would spend so much time there. He's like, yeah, I'm kind of more of a customer. And you see that Ju-in's life has also just kind of been in disarray. Like, everybody at the bar that they end up getting to meet knows Ju-in as this person who would, like, basically drink to excess and just give his keys to whoever he wanted to sleep with that day. And you kind of see Yi-gyum taking an interest in the fact that he's like, he hasn't been taking anybody home recently. Is he, getting his needs fulfilled somewhere else? Is that why he's gone so much? And he kind of has like a little bit of jealousy trickling in where he's like, I'm kind of interested in his love life for no particular reason.
It's a general wondering.
Yeah, just a general curiosity. No big deal. But so, as they've been living together for a month, like, again, you just kind of see their lives creating a bit more balance. Like, Ju-in is home more. He's drinking a little bit less. And eventually Ju-in just kind of looks at Yi-gyum and he says, I've taken ownership for you, but this is temporary. Like, this is to make it so that you can kind of be on your own. So you should decide what you want to do. Like, you find out that, like, Yi-gyum is perfectly fine and capable. Like, he's able to organize. He's a great cook. Like, he has all these skill sets. It turns out that Ju-young had him studying as well because Yi-gyum did not have a great, like, educational background. And so Ju-young pushed him really hard to study, but the studying was never good enough, of course. And so Yi-gyum is, like, a smart and capable person. And Ju-in just kind of pushes him. He's like, find something you want to do. And then he kind of makes this, I guess, inference of what maybe could or should happen. And he says, I think you're fully capable of running a business. Like, you're great at, like, the cooking side of things. Like, you're just really good at picking up on skills. And he's like, I do have that gay bar that I love, but I don't want to manage it anymore. And so if you want to start working there, if you get good enough, I'll just give it to you. And you see Yi-gyum kind of, like, struggling with this internally. He's like, I don't deserve that. Like, why would I run a bar that wasn't mine? Like, why would I be the person to take it over? And Ju-in essentially is just like, why wouldn't you? Like, you're a fully capable person. And he's like, that's interesting because Ju-young said I had to earn being a person. And Ju-in is just kind of, like, brokenhearted at it. He's just like, that's not true. Like, you have so many great qualities. You need to start, like, seeing this stuff in yourself. And basically he's just like, let's get it out of the house. Let's go grocery shopping together because you have things you want to make. Let's go for just walks in general so you can explore the neighborhood that you live in. And you kind of realize very quickly that Ju-in has been in a similar situation within his family. So Ju-in is the illegitimate child of a very rich, well-off CEO. And he was never good enough. Like, everything he had through his mother, who basically was also just, like, in the background trying to sneak her way into making herself an important part of the family. Because, I mean, she was a mistress. Like, she had no standing. But basically she would, like, throw herself into all of these different situations so that her son could get a foot in the door because she wanted it to be, like, her mark on this family that she felt important. And so he's always just kind of been a pawn for other people. He was never as quote unquote good or good enough as his brother Ju-young, who was held also to an impossible standard. And his life is essentially run and managed as well. So you see that in all of their lives, really what they lack is control, and the way that they've essentially like gone about handling that control differently. So you see that Juin essentially does it by kind of rebelling. Like, he's like, I'll create my own chaos. Like, this is my own chaos that I own. And it is the fact that there's no stability. Like, I'll work third shift if I show up to work. I'll own all of these bars, but technically I'll just be like a patron and I'll drink until I can't stand anymore and go do whatever. You see that Ju Young, you know, still held that prim and proper, you know, stature in front of everybody else. But then he goes and does all this deranged shit where he tries to control somebody else's life because his own self-worth wavers.
How long was Ju Young and the main Yi-gyum? How long were they, like, their relationship? A year?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And I mean, a lot has happened in a year.
Yeah. That's a long time to be in a relationship like that.
Mm-hmm. It really is. So as the relationship is continuing to grow, Juin and Yi-gyum, they go out to dinner together. Juin goes out to an event and he comes home and he's in a shit mood. And he's just like, I just want to eat dinner and like be with somebody. So he's drinking soju, having a nice time, but there's like no conversation happening. And Yi-gyum's like, I still feel like there's this barrier between us. Like, I don't know all of this information about Juin as a person. And so they go out to the dinner. There's like no conversation. It's just super awkward. And Juin just kind of like picks up on it and goes, if you have any questions for me, you can ask. Like, it's obvious that this is awkward because most of our interaction is just like being near one another and not so much having like deep conversation. And so they get to know like everything about each other. Like, they end up just kind of over a drink, like bonding about like how tall they are and like what they wanted to do when they grew up and, you know, why he got his tattoos, because Juin has tattoos on his arms. And, you know, they just kind of grow a little bit closer, and you see like slowly but surely, like, they're getting to know each other as people. It's not this owner relationship, even though that's what Juin called it. And you see that Juin just kind of took that ownership role because he's trying to ease Yi-gyum into like seeing his own value and his own worth. So they do have a couple of like, you know, semi-romantic moments where Yi-gyum is like, I mean, technically I'm not a dog, right? So it's not bad if like we're interested in each other. And Juin is like, yeah, I would say so. I'd say that that's perfectly fine. Like, we can definitely, you know, be romantically interested in one another. And they like slowly but surely, like, they don't full on do anything. You just see them like make out for a little bit and like maybe do a little of, you know, not like the whole way kind of stuff.
This is a great description.
Yeah, great description. I described everything else in depth, and I'm just like, they did like a thing where they touched something, and you see that the both of them have basically been interested in each other for a while. Like, it's grown along with their relationship. So Yi-gyum ends up basically taking him up on his offer. He's like, I'm going to start working at your bar. Like, I want a purpose. I want to continue, like, doing something for myself. And I don't have anything to do. Like, I'm cooped up in your house. I do have these skills. I might as well put them to use. And so he ends up becoming a bartender at this gay bar who, like, honestly, everybody's great and super nice. And he's still just like, I didn't do anything to deserve this position. Like, I get that I have previous experience working in a restaurant, but it was technically like delivery. Like, I didn't even make the food. I just saw the food being made and learned some skills along the way. And, you know, Juin just kind of makes it obvious. He's like, I'm doing this because I want you to build relationships with other people. Like, it's not healthy to isolate yourself, etc. Even though Juin doesn't really take his own advice. Like, Juin is kind of in his own bubble. And he he very much so is just kind of like gravitating towards Yi-gyum for everything. And he's like, this probably isn't healthy for Yi-gyum either. Like, I think it's important for him to have a break from me, because if I don't have a break from him, I'm going to become too dependent on Yi-gyum himself. And that's not what he needs. So one day, Ju-in is just kind of drunk with one of his friends who used to be his ex-girlfriend. And she kind of helps to manage a lot of his businesses and like the different deals and things that he manages on the side. And he gets really drunk, like too drunk. And Yi-gyum ends up coming up to pick him up. He's like, okay, I'll come pick him up. And he ends up having a conversation with this friend who essentially is just like, watch out, because he'll suck you in. Like, he's in his own little hole. And if you're not careful, you're going to fall into it with him. And she's very aware of like Ju-in's self-destructive behavior. He's not great at obviously taking care of himself, with which Yi-gyum has already figured out. And I think Yi-gyum in this aspect is able to like very quickly pick up on the fact that he shows a lot of similarities with Ju-in and his situation in general. Like, Ju-in is used to kind of following to the beat of somebody else's drum and not really being himself. And it's really kind of put him in this terrible, terrible depression and in this very dark place. And Yi-gyum is kind of like what gives him a little bit of hope about it. So as Yi-gyum starts working at this bar, he makes a bunch of different friends. He finds out that because it's a gay bar, none of them really use their own names because a lot of the customers hit on them, etc. And he's just kind of known for his pretty face. So everybody calls him Navi because he has the butterfly tattoo on his neck, and that means butterfly in Korean. And he's like immediately a hit. Everyone's just like, I want my drinks from that guy. And his number one fan and the person who gets the first drink that Navi or Yi-gyum has ever made is Ju-in, who comes in as a customer after work. And already everybody's pretty jealous. They're like, why is the owner coming in and stealing all of our time with this beautiful bartender? And you kind of see Ju-in's jealousy starting to like come into play.
Yeah.
Like, even though he's given Yi-gyum the freedom to go and be a bartender at this bar, he does get a little jealous seeing all of the guys hitting on him, etc. And, you know, as he sees like some of the employees and the coworkers and stuff kind of like flirting along with him, he's just like, no. Actually, you're going to be my ride home tonight. And he basically gives Yi-gyum the keys and never lets Yi-gyum close the bar because he's like, oh, he has to take me home. And everybody starts picking up on it. So they're all like, I mean, it's fine. Like, what are we supposed to do? Tell the owner of the bar that he can't do that. And basically, you know, Ju-in kind of starts, you know, overstepping his boundary a little bit as just like a friend or like, you know, somebody that maybe they're like starting to be on dating terms with, where he's just like, what are these people saying to you? Why are they flirting with you? You should go home a little bit earlier. Maybe, you know, cover yourself up a little bit. You're a little too hot for the bar.
I don't like that.
And Yi-gyum stands his ground for like the first time ever. He's like, actually, like, that's not for you to say. Like, it's really nice that you give me rides to work and you wake up extra early before your shifts, but like, you don't have to give me a ride. I'm going to take public transport from now on. And as sad as Ju-in is that like Yi-gyum is kind of creating that boundary, Yi-gyum is doing it because he's like, I'm learning from the relationships around me where I'm actually seeing other people that this is healthy to like be able to do my own commute to work and like build in that space for myself. And so as sad as Ju-in is, he's like, okay.
I'm so proud of him for standing up for himself.
We're so proud. And so you see that like this freedom that he's given him has kind of just given him the backbone to like set those boundaries and be like, sorry, I know that you say you need me around and you want to spend all this time, and I do, but I want it to be meaningful time. And that doesn't mean we have to spend all of our free time together. Like, it's okay. He's like, I'm allowed to have that relationship with my coworkers where we hang out after work or I help close the bar. And if you happen to be there to give me a ride home, that's fine. But I don't feel that that is okay for you to basically, you know, set that boundary. And Yi-gyum essentially just looks at him and goes, I mean, are you interested in me? Like, is this why this is happening? And you see Yigyum is definitely interested. Like, you see his own jealousy with Juin's relationships building and his curiosity about what his relationship is with this person and that person. Because he wants to know where he fits in. And basically, he's just like, I'd lie if I said that I wasn't curious about you. Like, I'm interested. I find you attractive. And he's like, but, you know, dogs don't have sex with their owners and, you know, everything else. And Yigyum is just kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, I know that that's not what our relationship is because this is very different than your brother, Ju Young.
Yeah.
So, you know, he's becoming really good friends. He's, like, getting encouraged by the people who work at the bar. They're like, you should get your bartending license. Like, you're actually really good at this. Sometimes you can get in with hotels, and their management sucks. Like, a lot of people leave. And so it's kind of hard because you're working a lot by yourself, but it gives you great managerial experience if that's what you want to go into. And they're just kind of, like, encouraging him to follow his dream. Like, if this is a path that you want to go down, then go down that path for yourself. And so Yigyum is like, hell yeah, I'm going to start looking into bartending and, like, all these different cocktail recipes. And the chef at the bar, he basically, like, makes a really good Italian meal. And so Yigyum is just kind of, like, taking all of these new skills that he's learning, like how to make the Italian food. Like, he wants to make, like, mussels and spaghetti and stuff like that. And he's like, oh, I can make this for Juin. Like, he wants to use it to, like, build that healthy relationship together. He's like, I want to do this for him. It's not because there is an obligation for me or anything like that, etc. And as much as Yigyum is like, Juin, I don't need you, like, constantly hovering over me, Juin still goes in every once in a while as an employee at the bar or just, like, as, like, a patron, I guess. And he's just kind of looking, and you do see there's this one scene in episode 12 where Juin is just staring at Yigyum, like, goofing around with the other employees and, like, seeing all of these other people hitting on him. And he's like, it's hard to let you go, but I needed you to come to this situation because you deserve to know that you're loved. And it is the sweetest thing. Like, he is just staring at him with, like, the most loving smile. And it is beautiful. Like, the fact that they've built a healthy relationship in just a few months. Like, at this point, I think they've been together 2 months with each other. And so you realize that Juin really is just trying to help Yigyum stand his ground. Like, almost pushes him in the wrong directions to see if he'll push back. But because he wants to see that growth for him, because he deserves it. And we all think Yigyum deserves it. So, as they continue growing together, Yigyum is kind of sad that Juin's words weren't, like, more longing for him. Like, they've had several conversations at this point. Juin just kind of says, my interest in you is basically a curiosity, but, like, I'm fine to set those boundaries between us. And Yigyum, with, you know, his own headstrong ways now, is kind of realizing that's not what I want. Like, I want Juin. I am extremely interested in him. And, you know, I want to, like, pursue where this could go, essentially. So he ends up basically taking Juin back home. And after he does this, he's pretty, you know, he's kind of pushing a little bit more on Juin. He's like, interesting. Do you know, like, what you want to do? Do you want to start a family? Blah, blah, blah. And, you know, Juin's asking him the same thing. He's like, well, Yigyum, what do you want? And he's like, I don't know that I want a family, but I want Juin. And so he's like, I don't think that I'm going to make this, you know, in any way, shape, or form, like, I guess, up to interpretation. And so Yigyum is trying to find it in himself, like, how do I healthfully just say, like, I am interested in you for other reasons? Other than, like, we're just roommates who happen to find each other attractive. Like, I think we should start making more steps in our relationship. And Juin, as interested as he is kind of hesitant to make these next moves. He's like, you had told me that you were straight. Like, your relationship with my brother wasn't sexual. Like, you say you're not very experienced in general. And who am I to step in that way? Like, you're allowed to pursue whatever relationships. And I don't want you to feel like you're romantically interested in me just because I'm attracted to you and because I've like taken you in and been nice. Mm-hmm. Like, I need to make sure that you can kind of set those boundaries yourself and know what you actually want, and it's not just you feel like you owe me. And so Yigyeom is kind of conflicted. He's like, do I just want Juin because he's been nice to me? Like, am I interested in him? I have an interest in women, but Juin technically is bisexual, and he has interests in both. And I don't even want to put a label on it. Like, I'm just interested in Juin himself. Mm-hmm. And so he kind of starts to see Juin getting hit on at the bar because, you know, the way he was known previously, Juin would get hit on. He'd basically hand his keys to a guy, and that guy who takes him home gets to sleep with him. And you see Yigyeom getting that unhealthy jealousy as well of like, why is he getting hit on? I'm going to be the person to take him home because that's my role. That's what I want to do. And you see like all these guys, they're like, that's not fair. I want to take him home. You know, why are you just doing that for the bartender? I get these hot, but like, that's not cool. And, you know, he goes to take him home, and basically like they see he's wearing like all of these nice designer clothes now because he's living with Juin, who is basically supplying everything for himself. So Yigyeom decides he's going to set his own boundary again, and he's like, Juin, if you want to do something to help me, you're going to take me shopping. Like, you'll take me there. I'm buying everything for myself. Mm-hmm. And Juin kind of decides that this is a date. He's like, oh, we're going out together to a mall. Like, that's super nice. I'm excited to, like, go and spoil him.
Love a mall date.
I know. Love a mall date. I mean, they've already gone to the grocery store together, etc. And basically, you know, Yigyeom is just like, I want to go and do all of these things with you, but I'm going to pay for myself. And Juin is kind of taken aback. He's like, I want to do this as a date. He doesn't know that Yigyeom is also doing this, like, I want to do this as a date, and I want to do something for Juin. Mm-hmm. And so they kind of butt heads because they're both wanting to do for each other. And they're both, like, huge givers in both of their respective areas of the relationship. But Juin gets to give all of the time. And Yigyeom sees it as like, I haven't been able to pay him back for the fact that I have a job because of him now, a roof over my head, etc. And no matter how much like that's not what the relationship is between them, he does feel like he wants to do something nice for him. He's like, I get nice things all the time. But Juin gets very pouty. Like, Juin refuses to take his sunglasses off. He's just carrying the bags. He's like, I don't care what you pick out to wear, even though he, like, very much thinks Yigyeom looks cute and everything. And he's just like, honestly, the fact that I'm not able to, like, put in all of this positive energy towards it is really just more draining than anything. And I did resonate very closely with Juin in this scene because here in episode 16, he's, like, laying on the couch of this fancy, like, clothes shop. And he's just like, oh my gosh, being out in public is like draining everything I have. And I feel that on a very personal level. So Yigyeom is just kind of like buying all of his stuff. And again, he's like trying to put his card down, and Yigyeom's like, I've gotten my first paycheck. I'm buying my own stuff. And again, Juin is just like, cool, fine, whatever. And like pouts and is walking away. Well, Yigyeom goes to the bookstore as well. And he ends up picking up all these books for himself. One is a cookbook on how to make Italian food. Another is like a book about how to get a bartending license and just like running a restaurant, and some managerial materials as well. And Juin just kind of storms off. And so they're sitting there, they're in the elevator. He's just kind of seething to himself. And Juin is just like, you know, why are you looking into doing all of these different things? Like, I didn't even know this was an interest you had. Like, we've had conversations, and you seemed so reluctant to take the position that I offered you in the first place. And Yigyeom starts talking about all of the impact that his coworkers have had on him. And of course, since he works at a gay bar and he knows that a lot of them find him attractive, Juin again just kind of starts displaying some of that jealousy, where he goes, oh, So it's because, you know, this person decided to recommend it to you, not because it came from me. Mm-hmm. And so they're just kind of standing there, and he's happy for Yigyum, but he's also like, I really wish that, you know, we got to be closer and that I was still like as impactful in helping to build you up as these other people. And basically he's just like, I don't feel like I should be giving him the cold shoulder, but at the same time, I just want to be by his side all of the time, and I'm a little jealous. So after they're done shopping, Jiwon basically just tells him, he's like, I'm upset with you, and I know I shouldn't be, and I know that it's stupid, and I know that you're just having fun with those guys at the bar, but when I'm at work, I'm counting the minutes until I get to go home to you. And it just makes me jealous that they get more time. And I really wanted to shower you with love when we went out together today, and you wanted to do everything for yourself. And so Yigyum is super flustered. He's like, wow, that's kind of nice to hear because I'm very interested in you.
We love the open communication.
Yeah, we love the open communication. But so Yigyum is basically like, look, we're going to the grocery store. I'm buying all of this stuff. And I just want you to know that, like, I want to do these things for you. Like, I don't want you to look at me as a burden. I think it's important for me to be able to provide for myself and to choose to be with you anyway. And, like, set that boundary for himself. Healthy boundaries. Like, just claps all around. It's great. I love it. But then he basically lets it slip. He's like, by the way, all of the employees want to give me, like, a welcoming party. And I want to go. Like, I'm interested in going and hanging out with all the guys. And Jiwon is like, okay. Like, that's fine. He's like, am I invited? Can I come? And he's not invited. They're like, no one wants the owner of the bar there, you weirdo. So, basically, Yigyum is just like, would you hate it if somebody, like, very openly admitted that they liked you? Like, would that be kind of weird? And he's, like, obviously not knowing how to, like, come out with his feelings still very openly. Mm-hmm. And Jiwon is just like, I mean, that's dumb. Why would somebody hate it that somebody said they liked them? And he's like, well, what I mean is, would you say yes to sleeping with somebody if they said that they liked you? And Jiwon's like, why? Is somebody saying that to you? Like, he's like, you can't control your feelings. Like, your feelings are your own. And so if that's a person you're interested in and a guy says that they like you, then, I mean, yeah, you go with them. And he said, why? Are you like, do you like somebody? Like, are you, you know, like tucks his hair behind his ears. He's like, are you interested in someone? And he's like, it would make me happy if any guy or girl showed an interest in me. And he's like, I would take what came my way. And he's like, not everybody likes me as who I am. And so he's like, I guess that's maybe selfish of me, but I like the attention. And Yigyum does not like this answer. And it's obviously like a misinterpretation because they're both tiptoeing. And it's sad because you do see them communicating so openly. Like, Jiwon very much is like, I'm upset with you. And here's why.
Yeah.
But here he just like doesn't know what to say. So he's just like, I don't know. He's like, I guess I like attention, so that's fine. And Yigyum's like, cool, fine. Well, I guess that makes sense. And so basically Jiwon drops him off at his welcoming party where everybody at the bar is just kind of getting to know him. And everybody is plastered drunk. Jiwon is like, hey, maybe don't drink so much. And everybody started the party before he even got there. And they're like, Navi, his bartender name at the bar. There are some like regular customers that have stayed over to like be there at the party, etc. They're like, wow, you look so good. And he's like, actually, it's kind of interesting that like these people have become regulars in my life too. Mm-hmm. Like, I didn't used to have this consistent schedule or just anybody in my life other than Juyoung. And this just feels right. It's almost like you're supposed to be able to make those connections with more than just one person. Mm-hmm. Crazy. But basically, he's just like, well, Jiwon's at work right now, and you see him thinking about Jiwon, even though he's surrounded by all these other people. And his mind really is occupied with Juin. Mm-hmm. Like, as much as they do have those healthy boundaries now, like, he's still like, oh, I wonder where Juin is. And did he get off of work okay? Is he going to be eating? And then everybody just kind of pounces. They're like, do you have a girlfriend? Do you have a boyfriend? Are you interested in men? We'll keep it confidential. Also, is Navi your really name? And they're just like asking him all these questions. And he's not used to people showing this interest in him. And so he does. He's like, oh, well, basically I served in the military early. And, you know, basically I went and did all these different things. He's like, when push comes to shove, like, people get pretty sick of me easily, so I don't really have a girlfriend or a boyfriend. And everyone's just like, oh, poor Navi, we'll take care of you. Our poor, sweet, hot Navi. And all of the bartenders, they kind of take care of him like their own. Mm-hmm. Like, they're like, oh, get off of him, you weirdo. Like, you're a regular at the bar. Don't make it awkward for when you come in here next time. And they're all just kind of pushing him off. But they're all, like, getting to know him pretty well. And so the cook ends up coming up to him. Like, he's like, oh, I'm going to step out. Like, I didn't realize that I was as drunk as I was. And as he goes outside, the cook is smoking in the alleyway. And he's just like, oh, hey, Pobby, you know. And they're having, like, a regular conversation. And Pobby's basically just like, oh, you know, if you want, like, if you drank too much, I can take you home. Like, it's no big deal. And he's like, yeah, I mean, like, it's totally fine. And they start having, like, a just genuinely normal conversation about how, you know, Yigyum is interested in cooking. Like, he wants to learn how to make food. And Pobby's like, oh, like, I can teach you how to do that. That's fine. So, basically, he kind of starts asking the exact same information. He's like, do you have somebody that you're in a relationship with? Like, are you interested in anybody, etc.? And he kind of lets him know. He's like, actually, the two bartenders that you're working with are dating each other. Mm-hmm. Just so you know, like, so you can kind of get a feel for the connections. And it's funny because it's similar to the dynamics we were talking about last week, where you were like, oh, this character's all bubbly and this one's really not. Like, that's exactly the exact, like, there's Eddie and there's Squidbert. Those are their names for the bar. And they're dating one another. And Eddie is so loud and obnoxious and friendly. And Squidbert, like, he has hair covering his face. He's, like, not interested in involving himself with people at all. But they're, like, an opposites attract relationship. So
I love a grumpy sunshine. It is one of my favorite tropes.
It really is. But yeah, I mean, basically Pobby is like, I had been listening to what you were saying at the bar about how people don't get interested in you, etc. And a lot of the stuff that you mentioned, like, does worry me. Like, it just sounds like you've had a really hard time and, like, it makes me sad, but I don't feel like I pity you.
Yeah.
You know, and he tries to make that connection. He's like, you deserve to be loved. And if you don't feel that, that's, you know, you'll have to learn how to look out for yourself, like, as you get older. Like, nobody can be on your side as much as you can be on your own. Mm. And so you're never too old to learn that. He's like, you're 25. You should probably, like, really get a feel for it. So Pobby starts walking him home, and he kind of, as they're walking, he's like, what is your reaction when somebody says that they like you? And Yigyum starts to feel a little bit uncomfortable. He's like, this is the conversation I was having with Juin.
Yeah.
And now I'm realizing somebody else is having it with me, and I don't know what to say. And he's just like, yeah, I've had this conversation before with Juin. And, you know, even though the guy is bisexual himself, you know, I don't want to break anybody's heart by accidentally leading them on and blah, blah, blah. And he said, but, I mean, yeah, it would make me happy if somebody said that they liked me. And he's thinking about Juin, and Pobby decides to profess his feelings for Yigyum.
Saw that coming.
I know. And he basically just says, like, I'm interested in you. What, you know, you don't have to return my feelings. I had to tell you that I'm interested and I find you attractive, blah, blah, blah. And as they're having this conversation down the street, you see that one of the regulars at the bar who had been hitting on Juin is walking home with Juin. And Yigyum, like, has shut out the entire conversation with Pobby, and he's just focused on the fact that Juin's with somebody else. Mm-hmm. And he's like, is he taking him home? Like, is he back to his old roots? Like, was I not clear enough in our conversation that, like, you know, that I want him to express that he likes me? And he kind of realizes, like, I need to take charge of the situation because, one, we're 18 episodes in and you better figure out if you like somebody and express that. But also, it very much, like, made it clear to him, like, I don't want to see him linked to somebody else, possibly romantically. Like, that's my Juin. So, like, with all of those lines getting crossed, you know, Poby just kind of sees, you know, Yigyum is not really interested. He's like, don't worry. I don't think the owner of the bar will spread any false rumors about us. Like, I just didn't feel like I should keep my feelings in, blah, blah, blah. And Yigyum is so overwhelmed. He essentially just sees that Juin got in the car with that guy from the bar, and he runs away.
I was expecting him to, like, follow him.
Just drunkenly runs home.
Oh, my gosh.
And Poby's like, what the fuck? Like, why did this drunk person just run away from me? But, you know, surprisingly, as somebody who, you know, used to party in college maybe a little bit, a lot of drunk people run away, in my experience. So
I may have done that a few times myself.
Sometimes we just like to run. It's fun.
may have run away from you a few times, too.
Yeah,
I think you ran away from me, too.
Yeah, we've all done it. Aren't we all drunk runaways at the end of the day?
Yeah.
And so he rushes home. He's a complete mess. Like, he's like fell down a couple of times. He's like stumbling up to the door, and then he forgot the door code to get inside.
Oh my gosh.
So he's just sitting outside of the door, like slumped over, just thinking, he's like, is he hooking up with that guy right now? What do I do? I can't go back to the bar. Poby's calling me because I just ran away from him. And not only did I run away from him in a very bad situation because he just expressed his feelings to me, but I also ran away. And he doesn't even know if I'm going to make it back home safely. He doesn't know where I live. So, like, who knows? I'm just out here. He's like, I just don't know. He's like, and he just, like, has this huge internal monologue. Like, anybody who's just, like, been too drunk and leaves themselves alone with their thoughts. He's just like, have I always been naive? Is this how I got into these unhealthy relationships before? Like, maybe I've just pretended to be naive because at least when people were using me, I felt useful. And he just kind of goes back to a lot of those roots of, like, how did I get into these terrible situations? How am I in this situation now? Do I even have a right to expect Juin to want me? Because I made that clear line that, like, we shouldn't be romantically involved in the beginning. And he's just kind of crying to himself. And as he's crying on the stairs, Juin comes out. He's, like, in his robe. And basically Yigyum's like, should I come upstairs or do you have a guest? And Juin is like, no, I don't have a guest. Like, he just drove me home because I paid for him to take me home. And who's going to turn down money? And so he's like, Mittens, are you okay?
Oh, my gosh.
They have their conversation, and Yigyum just goes, I really like you. Just take me home, because home is with you at this point. And so they go upstairs, they make out a bunch, they, like, come to terms with the fact that they like each other, and that they want to be romantically involved, and essentially, like, they end up taking their relationship a little bit further together, and they're in the same understanding now that, like, this is mutual, this isn't just, like, I feel like I'm indebted to you, and so I'm wanting to do this. And Juin is still a little apprehensive to do things. He's like, just so you know, like, very much when we met each other, you said you were straight, and I don't want to push you to do something. You're really drunk. I'm pretty drunk. Like, this is just probably not the best way to do anything. And so Juin puts a halt on everything and says, when I do this, I want to do it right. And so we can do some stuff together, but, like, we're going to save the actual meaningful connection for when we're both sober and can have, like, a real conversation about this. So, again,
healthy boundaries.
Snaps for healthy boundaries. So, I mean, like, you do see, obviously, like, they're very interested in each other. You know, it's now a romantic relationship on top of them just having, like, that healthy, like, living together relationship. And so you know, Yi-gyum is just like, oh my gosh, how will I be able to face everybody else since I ran away from them? And, you know, now that Yi-gyum and Ju-in have expressed their feelings for one another, Yi-gyum is very much able to differentiate. He's like, this isn't my owner. Like, the fact that I let somebody own me before was because I didn't find my own purpose. Mm-hmm. And Ju-in helped me find my own purpose. Like, that was what he was advocating for in the first place. And so they're advocating for themselves in the relationship now. They're advocating for themselves in the bedroom. Like, everything that they're actually interested in. Like, he has a voice and a say. And he's like, I don't have to feel guilty that we have this sort of a relationship, because at the end of the day, this is what we both want. Mm. Like, I got to decide what I wanted, and it's Ju-in. So, you know, you do get to see Ju-in is kind of having his own thoughts with this. Like, Yi-gyum is just kind of asleep, and he's just like, you know, I'm worried that you might get hurt by staying with me because I see myself as a black hole. Like, he doesn't see his own worth, and it's so funny because you see him advocating for Yi-gyum so much. But after they end up, like, essentially hooking up together, he's just in his own head as well, how Yi-gyum was on the steps having his own internal monologue. Mm-hmm. And Ju-in does the exact same thing. He's like, I want your unconditional affection. I want to give you mine. But everyone I've ever been around, everyone I've ever been with sees me as, like, a black hole, essentially, where, like, everything goes to die. Because for a long time, I haven't been my own person. So essentially, like, Ju-in realizes that Yi-gyum is sick. He takes care of him while Yi-gyum is sick, like, puts the pad on his forehead to help cool him down. And he's just like, honestly, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how other people see me as long as Yi-gyum, like, this is what he really wants. So basically, they end up, like, cooking together and doing all of these other really cute things. Like, we just got a lot of the fluff. Mm-hmm. Like, they're together for the first snow of the season. And basically, like, there's a scene that specifically just made me, like, swoon, where they're going for a walk together in the snow. And Yi-gyum sees that there was a snowman that was built by a bunch of neighborhood kids that got knocked over. And so they both end up, like, rebuilding the snowman and, like, putting it back up together.
So fun.
And it is the cutest little thing ever. Like, they basically end up putting the snowmen back together and making them hold hands. That's the level of fluff we're getting here.
Love that.
And they walk away holding each other's hands. They go Christmas shopping together because they've both, like, you find out that Yi-gyum has never gotten to celebrate Christmas. And, like, he just didn't have a good home life. Like, he wasn't super involved. And so they're walking through the grocery together. They're like, oh, let's pick up ramen. And he's like, no, you don't need instant ramen, Ju-in. Like, you're not a child. He's like, I like ramen. And they're having, like, their cute little relationship squabbles. And essentially, like, Yi-gyum is like, okay, I'm going to make, like, a really special dinner for us tonight. We're going to celebrate Christmas together. And Ju-in is like, oh, okay, I'm going to step out for a second. And he comes back and he knocks on the window. And when Yi-gyum lets him in, he bought him a Christmas present. And it was, like, a cute little terrible dancing tree that, like, sings Jingle Bell Rock.
Oh my gosh.
And as ugly and hideous as it is, he's like, it was, like, the last thing available because it's Christmas.
That reminds me of those little cacti that sing along with you. Mm-hmm. I love those.
Yes. I mean, it's basically the same thing. Like, it opens up its arms and it, like, does a little dance or whatever. And Yi-gyum kind of hates it, but he laughs. The scene is so cute. Like, Yi-gyum is cracking up and he's having the time of his life. Mm-hmm. He's just so touched that somebody would think about him, like getting him a gift, etc. And Ju-in is just so happy to see Yi-gyum happy. Mm. Like, they are both just so enamored with the relationship that they have together now. Like, they are just basically, like, in a honeymoon phase, starting out their relationship together. And as they're doing this, you see them growing closer together. This is, like, basically the season end is just you seeing them, like, being connected. And at the same time that you're seeing them getting along, the series then kind of takes a shift. So you see them obviously, like, being super compatible. Everything is super cute. And now you kind of start to get to see this inner workings of Ju-young, the previous quote-unquote owner. of Yigyum. And just like the unhealthy obsession that he had with Yigyum himself. So he is realizing, one, that the gangsters that kicked Yigyum out in the beginning are actually the family members of the woman that he's engaged to. And when they found out that Yigyum was staying with Ju-young, they were like, well, that can't fly once you guys are married. So without his consent, they basically broke into his apartment and kicked Yigyum out. And so you see Ju-young just kind of having a mental breakdown. He's like, how dare somebody touch my things? And I mean, again, he's gross and disgusting.
Yeah.
So one of those quote unquote things is Yigyum himself. And he's like, he would never leave me willingly. Like he was trained better than that. And you kind of see just the disarray that he's in general of like his mother was driven completely mad because Ju-in's mom was trying so hard to work her way into the family.
Yeah.
And it created this wedge between her and her husband. And because of that, like, the mom ends up killing herself. Like, it is extremely sad, like, how this happened. Like, the mother was basically just driven crazy by the fact that her husband had a mistress and she could never tell who was actually, like, in good standing with the family. And at the end of the day, it was all just, like, business decisions. It was all very much, like, contractual relationship rather than, like, things that were important. So she was supposed to keep up these appearances that she couldn't. And she just kind of crumbled under the pressure. So Ju-young essentially woke up trying to live up to these unrealistic standards that he set for himself and that his father set for him, etc. And in the end, you know, Ju-young is basically told who he's going to marry. But you see that this comfort that he had previously was that no matter how much he was made to feel like shit and like he had no control over his life, he liked going home and doing whatever he wanted to Yigyum because he could just take out his frustrations on him. Yigyum didn't say anything, felt like he owed him. And so Yigyum stayed no matter what. And Ju-young loved having that control.
Yeah.
Like, it was the one place he knew he could control all of the surroundings that he had. So when he gets home and he sees that everything is just disheveled and Yigyum is gone, like, you just see him, like, visibly, like, eyes popping out of his head, like, sweating profusely, like, just in absolute anger and anguish. And it is kind of a haunting panel, to be completely honest, because he's deranged. Like, he had the one thing he honestly cared about, which he had a very shit way of showing that he cared about it, or him. But the one thing he thought he had control over, he didn't. And so just kind of like the last little cord in him snapped. And you just see like all of these different memories flooding in. He's like, he wouldn't leave, like, out of his own accord. Are people watching me? Like, what do people know? Who would Yigyum tell about all of this stuff? Like, now he's an actual liability to the control that I have over everything else. And he said, I'm filled with a feeling of helplessness. And that's not something I've ever, you know, related to Yigyum. And so that's Yigyum's fault. Like, just his terrible mental health. And you see him having these essentially, like, back and forth conversations where he has to hold up appearances around, like, his wife's family and everything. And even the wife and her friends, or, like, the future wife and her friends, are, like, making jokes like, oh, you have him on a leash, like, ball and chain, you know? And he hates it.
Yeah.
Like, he's just snapping. Like, you can see, like, the look in his eyes when she grabs him. She's like, oh, you know, with his glasses and his hair down, he even looks like a golden retriever. And he's just like, how dare you compare me to a dog? And you kind of see where, like, everything that his life is reflecting is just terrible stuff that he put onto Yigyum.
Yeah.
So he's just a terrible character. They're great at making you hate him, to be entirely honest. And, like, you see or quote unquote understand, like, why he's so fucking deranged. But still, like, you just don't feel any sympathy for everything he's put Yi-gyum through, because even seeing it through his eyes, like, he's tormenting him.
Yeah.
For no reason. So, at the very end, we do get a little bit more fluff again. Like, we're back to seeing just Ju-in and Yi-gyum having a healthy relationship, like, just being interested in each other in general, like, their likes, dislikes, they're ringing in the new year together, like, just, they're a romantic couple at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice to see that they have no filters. And so, basically, they were just saying, like, we haven't even left the house. It's been freezing cold. Like, being together has been enough. And maybe we should actually go and do something.
No, it's too cold. Stay inside.
I know. As of right now, where we're at, it is actually freezing cold. So I understand, like, them being like, okay, actually, we're out of groceries. We need to go and get stuff.
No, please.
But basically, like, you just get to see them having this healthy relationship, which, after seeing those panels of Ju-young and all of his memories of what he and Yi-gyum were to each other, like, you're just happy to see that, like, he's not in that situation anymore. But essentially, as they, you know, end up ringing in the new year, they're trying to, like, order in their takeout. And essentially, they're just like, we're just going to go grocery shopping with each other and have fun. And at the very end of the last panel that has come out here in episode 27, there is a banging at the door. So we will see who's at the door in the next few chapters. But we are now all caught up on Love, Sick Dog. It is a wonderful series. Every single panel is just beautiful to look at. I love the main characters. I hate the villain. And really, what more can you want from a story?
Yeah, it sounds like a really good story. I love a story with a ton of character growth, which this obviously has. So I'm definitely going to have to read this one.
No, the character growth is great. In order to see them, like, growing to be their own healthy selves, I love a good story arc where they learn how to live by themselves and, like, depend on themselves and instead choose to be with one another.
Yeah.
And I love it.
So
it is
good.
Just so wholesome. I am stressed knowing that the storyline with Ju-young more than likely is not over.
Yeah, it seems like that's going to come back, unfortunately.
I know. And I'm hoping for some peace for them, but I think it's going to be a ways away, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to relish in the fluff for now while I have it.
We love a good grocery shopping experience.
Exactly. But thank you all for joining me on my rant and ramblings about a series that has me extremely excited. If you'd like to read 27 episodes of Love, Sick Dog or continue reading on with me, it is available on Leeson Comics and it releases every Saturday. But thank you so much for joining us on this podcast today and looking forward to talking to you on the next one.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.